Welcome back to Golf WRX's Winning What's in the Bag, where this week we take a look at Hideki Matsuyama's Winning What's in the Bag from the 2025 Sentry. Yes, I actually got it right. It said 2025. I was all worried I was going to keep saying 2024 as we would last year. But a huge win for him. Guy played amazing golf, went 65, 65, 62, 65 to shoot an insane 35 under. So congratulations to him. Huge win, and let's get into his bag. We'll start from the top. Now, Hideki changes a ton of stuff, so what I'm going to give you is pretty, as far as we can tell, recent. I think we got all the clubs. Some of the specs might change because he is a tinkerer, and he will mess around and change specs and all that. So the specs I have are stuff that we've shot from his, but it may not be 100% accurate at the Sentry because who knows, he can change all the time. But we'll start at the top with driver, and for driver, he is playing the Srixon ZX5 LS Mark II. So there's two ZX5 models in the Srixon lineup. This is the lower spin one. And as you'll see, there's a changeable weight that is pushed forward near the face, kind of push the center of gravity forward, take down some spin, take down some launch. But yes, lower launching and spinning, not quite as low spinning as the ZX7 model, but out of the two ZX5s, it is the lower spinning, lower launching version of that. It is a 9.5 degree head, and it looks like he has the hosel set to plus 0.5 degrees of loft and flat. So maybe playing right around a 10 degree head, a little bit flatter to promote maybe a little bit more fade or slightly more neutral ball flight start line. Now his will say T230 Proto. Not sure what that is. I've actually reached out to Srixon, asked about it. They won't tell me. They say it's some type of kind of internal thing that they use. So I'm not exactly sure what the T230 prototype is, but it is something slightly different than retail, at least internally, because on the outside it looks pretty much the same as the ZX5 LS that we get. This one here is shafted up with a graphite design Tour AD DI 8 TX. So this is the 80 gram range, which makes the shaft more mid-launch, low spin. The more 60 gram versions are kind of like higher launch, low spin. These are, at the heavier weights, more mid-launch, low spin. It's got a kind of a soft handle section, a soft mid section, and then a very stiff tip. Comes in at 86 grams and 2.9 degrees of torque. Now we move into 3-wood, and his 3-wood is actually a TaylorMade Qi10 3-wood. This is the standard model, bonded hosel, a little bit higher launching, a little bit more spin compared to the Tour version. It's got the infinity crown, carbon crown, of course, for that nice clean look for it. Been played on Tour by a ton of people. Amazed how many people play the standard Qi10 as opposed to the Tour model. But it is the 15-degree head. Not sure exactly what exact specs, but from TaylorMade, it is a 15-degree head there. It is shafted up with a graphite design Tour AD 9 TX shaft. So this is the 90 gram range. I don't have actually any specs because it is a tour only part. Unless you're playing on a professional tour or have some connections, I guess, to somebody graphite design or somebody on tour, this part is not sold at retail. So it's around 90 grams. And the TX versions, interesting enough, are about 10 cycles stiffer than the standard one. So the standard 9X they do sell, this is going to be about 10 cycles stiffer, so a little bit stiffer, probably just a little bit heavier, maybe have just slightly less torque on it. But again, no official specs because we don't get the part at retail. His next club in there is going to be a 5-wood, and it is a Cobra RadSpeed Tour. Yes, the old RadSpeed Tour. This is the 5-wood head that is 17.5 degrees, but Hideki plays it plus 1.5 on the MyFly hosel adapter. So it's playing at 19 degrees. Now, when you look at this one here, too, the sole of it looks like the rails that Cobra used on it are actually slightly, I don't want to say they're sanded down, but they look shallower than the rails that came to retail. So there may be something with turf interaction that Hideki likes with this sole design, but they do look just a little bit shallower than the standard ones. This is shafted up with, I bet you're really shocked here, a graphite design Tour AD DI, but this is a 10TX. So again, a tour only part. You cannot get this at retail. Your local graphite design dealer probably doesn't have this in stock. It's going to be around 100 grams and should be mid to mid-low launching with low spin. Again, tour only, but the 100-gram 5-wood shafts, I don't think too many of us out there need those. We move into his irons, and he's actually playing a set of Srixon Z-Forge 2 blades. So the Z-Forge 2 we have at retail as well. He's playing 4-iron through 9-iron in his set. Now, it's interesting, though, you'll look at the back of it, and the muscle structure is different on his iron compared to the one at retail. If you look at the lower section of muscle there, it is much thicker, much more pronounced compared to the retail one that we have. The sides there, right around that center muscle piece, are kind of shaved down a little bit more, or kind of a little bit more flat. Where on his, they are definitely more pronounced. So his definitely have some type of different CG or different flight compared to the ones at retail. Also, if you take a look at the sole, it looks like his do not have any of that Tour V sole that Srixon is so famous for. The Tour V sole is kind of a V, so the front end kind of angles downwards, and then the back end is angled upwards. You get a lot of bounce, but then you also have a lot of relief where the club releases from the turf very quickly. Great for steep players or playing soft conditions. His look to have a more traditional kind of flatter sole on it, so he must like the turf interaction of his irons, not so much liking the one on the Tour V sole. These are shafted up with True Temper Dynamic Gold Tour Issue S400 shafts. You heard me right, S400s. Now, for whatever reason, Hideki is a big fan of heavy, stiff shafts in his woods, likes something heavy and soft in the iron. So interesting enough, playing the S400s, it definitely works for him. The guy shot 35 under, so I'm not going to second guess it. Now, these are 132 grams, kind of lower launching, lower spinning shafts. We talk about them quite a bit. The True Temper Dynamic Gold Tour Issue shafts are basically a staple across all professional tours. Now we get into wedges, and the first wedge is probably going to be a pitching wedge replacement, but these are Cleveland RTX4 forged prototype wedges for Hideki. Now the RTX in forged do happen over in Asia. Wedges and irons and all that, forged is a big thing, so we do forge a lot of wedges out there. We get cast versions here in the US, but the RTX 4s have a little different shape to them, and he is first playing a 48-degree wedge. Now this one here, I'm assuming, is taking the place of his pitching wedge. It's got a slight trailing edge relief grind on it, not a ton, but a little bit of kind of that C. You can see a little bit of toe and heel relief there. So you should have kind of good turf interaction and easy release from the turf there. It's a 48-degree head. I'm not sure exactly on the specs. On the back, you can see a bunch of markings. No idea what they mean. Nobody at Cleveland's going to tell me what those mean on the back of that club. So something that is definitely a prototype built for Hideki. Then he moves into his gap wedge. It is a 52 with 10 degrees of bounce, or at least that is what is stamped on it. Again, a Cleveland RTX4 forged. It is 35¼ inches long, playing at a D3 swing weight and a 63-degree lie. So he actually had like a little label on his shaft there with some of those specs. So again, are those specs 100% current now? I don't know. That picture is from a few tournaments ago, so they could have changed a little bit, but I would assume that they're probably pretty close to that. For his sand wedge, he's playing a 56.08, so 56 degrees, 8 degrees of bounce, but it is bent to 57.5 degrees. Again, on that little sticker, we get a lot of detail on it, which is nice. So 57.5 degrees, 35 inches in length for the sand wedge, a D3 swing weight, and 63.5 degrees on his lie angle. Now, the D3 swing weight, for a lot of players, they say that's kind of light. Everybody's kind of, on their own of what they like with swing weight. Maybe Hideki likes to go a little bit lighter in his wedges than maybe other people do. For the lob wedge, he's playing a 60 degree with 8 degrees of bounce in an RTX4 forged. Again, all these are RTX4 forged protos. It is bent to 62 degrees. Again, 35 inches in length, same as the sand wedge, and a D3 swing weight with a 63.5 degree lie. All of these wedges are shafted up with True Temper Dynamic Gold Tour Issue S400 wedge shafts. I know we talk about these every week because every week it seems like somebody has at least one in play. About 132 grams, a little bit of flatter launch angle, very similar feel to his iron shafts because they're the same shafts throughout. Now, putter, he just made a putter switch this week into a brand new putter. It is a Scotty Cameron 009M center shaft prototype. So the M on this, the 009, is kind of a head that's tour only. It looks a lot like a Newport. It's got a few different things to it, and his is the 009M version. The M version stands for masterful. And what that gets you at a 009 is a slightly thicker flange on the bottom, and also the shoulders and bumpers sit up a little bit taller, giving it kind of like a beefier look to it. The sole is actually slightly different as well. It's got a little bit of a rocker design to it. And then when you look at it, this is a center shaft. So the shaft is actually welded into the center, but it's not quite. It's actually a little bit heel bias. So I believe this is going to have a little bit of toe hang to it instead of being face balanced like most center shaft putters are. Now it's got the face is the shallow milling that Hideki typically has on most of his putters. He doesn't really go deep. I think he likes a slightly more crisp, more responsive feel. So milling on that, very shallow with the Scotty Cameron logo and the Circle T logo over in the heel of the putter. Now, when you look at grips, the rest of his clubs, he is playing Iomic X Evolution 2.3 grips. If you're not familiar with Iomic, they actually use a slightly different material for their grips. It's kind of called Iomax, and it's actually an elastomer material, which is a resin. So two parts mixed together, it's a resin. And what they do is they say it helps reduce twisting through the golf shot. Now, it's got a really unique feel compared to traditional rubber. To me, I don't know if I've played the Evolution, but I've played the Sticky and a few others, and they definitely have a unique kind of rubber feel to them. They're a little bit, to me, softer in terms of the feel compared to some other rubber grips, but definitely unique. They definitely hold up very well, and very, very classic grips that have been around a long time. He is playing the black with the blue end cap and blue logo. For ball, he actually switched over. He is playing the Srixon Z-Star XV, the 2025 version, the one that just got released, I think, today. I think we just announced it today. Brand new. It's got a new thinner urethane cover on it, a new Spin Skin Plus coating to add extra spin and extra grip on the wedge and iron faces. And then it's got a fast layer DG Core 2.0, which is a new core formulation to add more distance and speed to the ball. So that is Hideki Matsuyama's winning what's in the bag for the 2025 Century. Congratulations to him on playing some just absolutely fantastic golf, and 35 under is just crazy. So congratulations to him. And yeah, check back next week when we go through the next winning what's in the bag.